Okay, this is all I got on it. It's an illegal bill, and you got to stop them on these illegal bills. They got no right. It's an overextension authority. House Republicans not only failed to stand up to anti-gun Chuck Schumer and President Obama's anti-gun agenda, they folded like a house of cards. In order to prevent pro-gun grabbers from being able to voice their objections, House Republicans leadership deliberately moved up today's scheduled vote. Because of this last-minute scheme, the anti-gun bill passed this morning on a virtual empty room. In fact, lawmakers introduced and passed H.R. 3626, a 10-year extension of the so-called undetectable gun ban, in 24 hours. Unfortunately now, this gun ban extension has been put into a fast track to becoming law. Worse, moments after the House gavel dropped, Senator Chuck Schumer announced his intentions to tack on his expanded anti-gun provision to the final bill in the U.S. Senate. Schumer ain't done yet. I don't know what you're going to do with him, New York. This bill plays straight into President Obama and anti-gun General Eric Holder's hands. But he's not really anti-gun. He just wants the guns in the other people, in the bad guys' hands. Because that's all this does. But the good news is that you can still stop it. Please take a moment to contact the U.S. senators and urge them to oppose H.R. 3626, the so-called undetectable gun ban. You got Johnson, you got Thune. This is a dirty way they do things. Okay, he didn't get it done in the House, but he's going to take it up to the Senate and get it slipped in there. Then it'll come back, it'll get voted on real quick, and it'll become law. But let's take a look at how they even got any gun law in. Okay, here's the law. It's from Congress.gov, H.R. 36. It passed the House. All right. Now we're going to hide the overview. Now, here's your co-sponsors. Here's another dirtbags. Representative Israel Steve, Democrat, New York, and John Jr., Democrat, Michigan. Okay. Hide the overview. Now, the text. This bill to extend the Undetectable Firearms Control Act. All right. Now, they're telling you this is about that plastic gun. This is bullcrap. This is a gun grab, and it's going to get extended. The Undetectable Firearms 1982 is amended by striking 25, which was Schumer, and inserting 35, which was Coble, I believe. I can't tell yet. I can't see this thing yet. This is, as of today, at 2:55 p.m., 12/4/2013. I can't get an answer from anybody. Now, what we want to look for in this is where they get their constitutional authority on this thing. Here's another thing. They only had a few people left there when they did this, and the bill agreed to do by a voice vote. That's why we don't have a roll call. Introduced in the House. Okay, this is how fast this thing slid through. It was introduced on 12/2. Referred to the House Judiciary. Mr. Coble moved to suspend the rules and pass the bill. That's Coble in North Carolina, I believe. Considered under suspension of rules consideration. Floor consideration. This didn't even go to a normal vote. That's why we don't have a roll call. I'm understanding that now. The debate. The House proceeded with 40 minutes of debate on H.R. 30. 40 minutes with a bunch of people missing. Okay. Now I want to show you this. I was on the phone yesterday, and this hadn't supposedly been invited. This is the digest of the Senate. Tuesday, December 3rd at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I was on the phone, and this thing evidently had been slipped through right at the end at 1:22, which you saw on the last page. This was the last thing to be slipped through. So what they said was that, oh, we're not going to vote on anything important. So, and then they watched all the other people that would have voted against it go home, and they probably didn't even vote. And then, I got a clip to slip in here of what happens when they do this.
There's been a lot of debate at the Capitol on bills relating to voter integrity.
Some lawmakers are pushing for measures such as requiring voters to show a photo ID before being allowed to cast a ballot. Another bill would criminalize anyone who delivers a ballot for someone unable to drive to the polls. Now, with so much emphasis on one vote for one person, you'd think lawmakers would make sure they follow the rules too. In tonight's CBS 42 Investigates, Nancy Wilson found out many don't.
It's a record vote. Clerk, please read the bill.
This is State Representative Debbie Riddle. She authored the bill that would require voters to show a photo ID.
Clerk, ring the bell. It's a record vote.
It's all about integrity.
Record vote.
But the integrity of one person, one vote doesn't apply at the legislature. We found many lawmakers vote more than once. Take a look. Riddle votes, turns around, votes again for State Rep Kemple. Rewind. And watch the men on the screen. Elkins goes to vote for Merritt, but Hancock is faster. Elkins heads back to his desk, but before he can vote, Joe Crabb turns around and beats him to it. There is so much going on during the vote on the HPV vaccine mandate, you really have to pay attention. Start with State Rep Hamilton at his desk, who leans over to vote a second time for his desk mate Dan Branch, then reaches back to vote for Charlie Howard and casts a fourth vote for Wayne Smith. He's not the only one scrambling to vote. Rewind the video and take a look at the top of the screen. State Reps West and Phillips both lean over to vote for themselves and their desk mates. Phillips votes a third time for Christian. On the left, Donna Howard votes for State Rep Vo. State Representative Dunham didn't have to leave his chair to cast 4 votes. One for himself, then for Coleman, Martinez Fisher, and then Vesey. Sometimes the voting is across party lines. Hartnett, a Republican, reaches back to vote for Democrat Oliveira. Democrat Matt Reynolds votes for Republican England, and Republican John Davis votes for Democrat Noriega. Most voters have no way of knowing if their lawmakers are actually casting their own vote. Even though the legislature is broadcast on cable TV, the cameras change from this to this when it's time to vote. But if you're sitting on the third floor gallery,
I certainly noticed that there appear to be far more votes on the tick board than there were people in the room.
Arnie and Laurel Weiss were baffled when they came to see the legislature in action.
It seems very inappropriate and they should do something about it. Yeah, definitely.
State Rep Debbie Reynolds says voting for other members is done out of necessity.
We have a lot of votes. We have a lot of amendments. And there's times when we don't break for lunch and we don't break for dinner. We don't have bathroom breaks.
Necessity or not, one thing is clear. They aren't supposed to be doing it. According to the official House rules, written, voted, and approved by lawmakers at the beginning of the session, any member found guilty by the House of knowingly voting for another member on the voting machine shall be subject to discipline deemed appropriate by the House.
How did it get passed? Now, it was passed on Article... it was passed on the Supremacy Clause. Article, Section 8, Clause 3, I believe, what they call the Supremacy Clause. That gives them the right to control commerce. It's called the Commerce Clause, not manufacturing or ownership. Once again, I'm going to show you. It was introduced to the House at 12:02. And it was introduced by Mr. Coble for himself and Mr. Israel. Introduced the following bill, which was referred to the Committee on Judiciary on December 2nd, to extend the Undetectable Firearms Act of 1988. Now, this went in on December 2nd, supposedly due to the Judiciary Committee, and then it was back out and voted on by 12-3 at 122, and on 12-3 at 122, they suspended the motion, the rules, and passed the bill on a voice vote. Who do you hold accountable? Now, here we go here. This is number 4, Constitutional Authority Statement, the House of Representatives, December 2nd. This is where they draw their authority to do this. Clause 3 is what they use. Now let's go look at Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3. Okay, I got my little handy dandy Constitution on my hard drive. We're in Article 1. Here's Section 8. Here's Clause 3. To regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes. This is not about commerce. Okay, so they have no right to regulate it. Okay, what you got to remember is this here is a Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. They're not up for a legislative interpretation. They're like the foundation of your house. Anything you do to interfere with this is like a tree root growing into the root of your foundation, of your house, and it will destroy it. Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Infringed definition is anything you do. If I get too close to you and I infringe on your space, that's the word infringed means. Okay? If I walk onto your property, I have infringed, I have trespassed. Okay? That's infringed. I don't have any right to do such a thing without permission. Then they further go on and they say, in 10, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. The feds have no authority to make this law. End of story. It's not up for negotiation. The Bill of Rights is your foundation. It's your God-given, inherent, inalienable right. All right? Now they also tried to use Section 18, but it never made it to print, to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States, or in any department of office or thereof. This in no way tells you you can violate the Second Amendment. Nowhere. No way. Read it.